So, Sheryl Swoopes, the situation that just keeps on giving. Sheryl Swoopes is one of the greatest of all time, and ironically enough, Sheryl Swoopes was a dominant player. You can't win 3 MVPs without dominating your sport. And I mean that. You cannot win 3 MVPs without dominating. And just so that she does not have to say Caitlin Clark is dominating. Because again, like, a lot of times people were saying, like I can't remember, at one stage McCann might have said she's the best guard in the W, and Sheryl Swoopes said, yeah. Again, she's trying so hard to hate on Caitlin Clark that it's like, even when she admits Caitlin Clark is the best guard in the WNBA, she has to go and say, well, there's actually no dominant guards. Guards don't dominate. And I'm like, what? And she was like, asked about herself, and she was like, I never dominated. Man, she's diminishing her own career. And like, yes, her MVP numbers are probably worse, every one of these seasons, worse numbers than what Caitlin Clark did as a rookie. The only thing is, if Caitlin Clark isn't dominant now, Swoopes never was. She said it herself, by the way. This is not to discredit Sheryl Swoopes. Like, don't diminish your own career. Like, we're seeing that on Twitter. People being like, everybody is like diminishing Sheryl Swoopes' career because of her Caitlin Clark hate. She's doing it herself. She's doing it herself. And again, she's obviously, after Caitlin Clark scoring more points in her career, and because of that, we have released 35 greater than 34 merch. You can get some cheap t-shirts. You can get some hoodies with like back details, and some like higher quality t-shirts that are a little bit more expensive. But yeah, we've got 35 greater than 34. And these will be taken off the site as soon as the game tips off against the Washington Mystics. For one more day, you got a chance to get 35 greater than 34 t-shirts. But yeah, so Sheryl Swoopes has diminished her own career. Sheryl Swoopes is one of the greatest of all time. Like, and she was dominant. Sheryl Swoopes was dominant. You don't win. You don't be the first player to ever earn 3 MVPs and win 4 championships in a row. Yes, she played with Cynthia Cooper. Yes, she played with Tina Thompson. Yes, there is an argument to be made that Caitlin Clark that current Caitlin Clark is better than Pete Sheryl Swoopes. There is an argument for all of that. But Sheryl Swoopes was a dominant player. You don't need, like, her hate for Caitlin Clark has now gotten to the stage where she's willing to put herself down. She's willing to put herself down in order to keep up her Caitlin Clark hate, which is wild. Like, come on, now this is going too far. Because Sheryl Swoopes, that's basically like saying there was no dominant players in the WNBA. And her criteria is Caitlin Clark needs to average 30 to dominate. And that age is dominating. Why? Because she is literally shooting with the exact same efficiency as Caitlin Clark. She just shoots more. Like, if we looked at true shooting percentage, which is identical. A'ja Wilson's just shooting more. A'ja Wilson is dominating the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is dominating. She's generating points and open shots at a rate that nobody has ever done before. Rashad McCann saying Angel Reese is dominating. I think she's a dominant rebounder. And I think she dominates the offensive glass. I think nobody dominates every aspect of a game unless you're LeBron James. A'ja Wilson doesn't dominate every single aspect of the game because, yes, she is a dominant she is a dominant, like, help side defender. Or she's not a shot blocker, but at times I feel like her defensive positioning is iffy. She settles too much for shots that she doesn't shoot at the highest percentage, whereas a lot of time I think when she drives consistently, she just doesn't miss. She's too quick and big and strong. She does too much too well. And yes, she's a good mid-range shooter, but she settles too much for turnarounds on mismatches. Like, she doesn't dominate every aspect of the game, but she's a dominant player. Shaquille O'Neal dominated the paint. Angel Reese dominates the board. Caitlin Clark dominates the offense. Like, from the offensive side of basketball, Caitlin Clark is dominant. I think, as you could argue, Ezzie Magbegor is a dominant defender because of what she's done. Prime Brittany Griner was dominant. But according to what Sheryl Swoopes has said, Sheryl Swoopes was dominant. She was one of the best scorers while being the best defender in the W. Like, those players are dominant. Like, to make that argument that you need to average a number that no one has ever reached in the history of the WNBA to be dominant. And she also basically implied, her and Gilbert Arenas, that because Caitlin Clark is a scorer, if she doesn't average 30 like she did in college, she is not dominant. And then McCants was like, that's the same argument you used against Jokic. You said because he passes too much, he's not dominant, even though like he's scoring like 30. I don't know. It's very Hooper's logic, but to diminish yourself on that. Look, Sheryl Swoopes was dominant. Sheryl Swoopes was a dominant player. You do not do what Sheryl Swoopes did in basketball without being dominant. You don't win an MVP without being a dominant player. Stewie's a dominant player. Jonquel Jones at times is a dominant player. The criteria they have set is basically so that nobody in the history of WNBA can be dominant. Heck, even the criteria they've set for Caitlin Clark, A'ja Wilson isn't considered dominant. Because A'ja Wilson's only averaging 27 points a game. Like, I don't make the rules. That is just the criteria that they set out for Caitlin Clark to be dominant. They basically said if she does not average 30 and 10, she is not dominant. And that no guards are dominant. And also, by the way, she said if there's a guard that's dominant, it's Kelsey Mitchell. Man, Kelsey Mitchell, I would love to have stats. I reckon she shoots 60% from the field when she takes one dribble or less. Whether that be one dribble to the basket, one dribble step back three, one dribble pull up. I reckon she shoots about 60% on one dribble. I reckon she shoots about 35% off two or more, or maybe two dribbles or less. Of three or more dribbles, I say she shoots 35%. You can't give Kelsey Mitchell the ball. You can give her the ball at times to say, go get a bucket. And they try to argue Arike's dominant. Arike shoots 35% from the field. Her team is last. And she shoots 35%. I'm sorry, Arike is like what would happen if you gave J.R. Smith the green light and ran your whole team through J.R. Smith. Yeah, he would have a couple of 40 bombs. He would have some games where he looks like the best player in the world, but like, you're sorry, your team's winning 15 games. But yeah, this one's just sad. Like, it is really, really sad because not only have people started to diminish Sheryl Swoopes' career because of the stuff that she's saying, Sheryl Swoopes is diminishing Sheryl Swoopes' career, which is crazy. Because Sheryl Swoopes is one of the greatest players ever. Again, I'm not a fan of Sheryl Swoopes, but she's one of the greatest ever. And to diminish your own career as one of the greatest ever, just because you don't want to give the most dominant rookie we've seen. And a lot of people are like, oh, but I know one said LeBron was dominating in when he was in a rookie. It's like, yeah. LeBron averaged worse numbers than Caitlin Clark in a league that plays 8 minutes more per game. And let's not forget, if Caitlin Clark's teammates were able to just dunk everything like NBA players are when she hands them the ball for open layups, if you take into account the 8 minutes extra as well as the people just dunking everything near the basket, even if all the shooting percentages stay the same, and Caitlin Clark's rough equivalence is shooting or is averaging 24 and 12. If an NBA player averaged, let's say 7 rebounds a game instead of 6 rebounds a game. If an NBA player averaged 24, 12, and 7 as a rookie and led a team who had not made the playoffs for a decade to their first 5.500 record in a decade, if someone went to the Pistons next year and they somehow make the playoffs and they average 24, 12, and 7, they would be called the best rookie of all time, and it would be said that they would be dominating the NBA. And the reality is like, let's not move the goalposts. Let's not move the goalposts. If we try to equate stats, that's roughly what it is. And yes, that player will be a dominant NBA player. Facts are facts. And the reality is Sheryl Swoopes was dominant. Don't let Sheryl Swoopes of all people try to convince you otherwise just so that she can diminish Caitlin Clark.